Clara lived in a small, cozy room at the back of the Beaumont estate. Her mother had worked as a maid in the grand house for as long as Clara could remember. The estate was enormous, with long marble hallways, shining chandeliers, and walls full of paintings that seemed to watch everyone who passed. Clara had always admired the paintings. She liked the colors, the faces, and the way the light seemed to dance across the canvas. Sometimes, when she was alone, she imagined herself standing in front of a real masterpiece in a museum, feeling the history around her. Her life was simple, but not easy. Every morning, she helped her mother clean the house, polish silver, and make sure the rooms were perfect. She also had a small secret that no one knew. She loved studying art. She would borrow books from the local library and read about famous painters and their styles. She learned to notice small details in paintings, the brush strokes, the use of light, and the signature of the artist. Most people thought of her as just a maid's daughter, but Clara quietly believed that one day her knowledge could matter. One warm afternoon, Clara was dusting the gallery. The room was filled with sunlight that spilled across the floor and illuminated the paintings. There were portraits of stern-looking men in heavy coats, women in elegant dresses, and landscapes that seemed alive with movement. Clara's eyes moved carefully from one painting to another. She held a soft cloth and a small brush in her hands, ready to remove any dust. She liked this part of her work because it gave her a chance to study the paintings up close. As she reached a painting near the corner, she stopped. Something felt wrong. It was a portrait of a woman in a flowing dress holding a small bouquet of flowers. The painting was famous, or at least Clara knew it should be. She had seen it in a book once, but the colors seemed duller than they should be. The brush strokes were uneven, and then she noticed the signature. Her heart began to beat faster. The signature was slightly different from the original. It was as if someone had copied it carelessly. Clara's hands trembled a little. She stepped back and looked at the painting again. She whispered to herself in French, "Ce n'est pas vrai. Ce n'est pas le vrai. This is not real." She could not believe what she was seeing. She had always known the Beaumonts had many valuable paintings, but she had never imagined that one of them could be fake. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. At that moment, her mother called from the hallway, "Clara, be careful with that cloth. Don't touch the frame too hard." Clara turned to respond but could not stop thinking about the painting. She knew she had to tell someone. But who would believe her? She was only a maid's daughter. Still, she could not ignore what she had found. She took a deep breath and shouted, "Madame Beaumont, this painting is a fake." In French, her voice echoed through the gallery. For a moment, everything was silent. Then footsteps sounded behind her. Madame Beaumont, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a proud posture, appeared at the doorway. She looked at Clara with surprise. "Clara, what are you saying?" Madame Beaumont asked, her voice calm but firm. Clara pointed to the painting. "The colors are wrong. The signature is not the same. I have studied the original. This is not real." Madame Beaumont's eyes narrowed. "Are you accusing me of keeping a fake in my gallery?" she asked. Her tone was polite, but there was a sharp edge to it. Clara felt a little nervous, but she did not back down. "I am not accusing anyone. I am only saying the painting is not the original." "Please look at it." Madame Beaumont stepped closer. She examined the painting carefully. For a moment, Clara thought she might dismiss it as nonsense. But then the woman paused and frowned. Clara noticed a tiny crack in the paint that had not been in the original image she had studied. "This is unusual," Madame Beaumont said finally. "I will have it checked by an expert." Clara nodded. She felt a mix of relief and worry. She had said what she needed to, but she knew this was only the beginning. There was more to discover, and she could feel it. She returned to dusting the other paintings, but her mind was busy. Later that day, Clara could not stop thinking about the painting. She remembered reading about how some forgers could create copies that looked real to most people, but experts could find tiny mistakes. She realized that if this painting was fake, there might be others in the house. She needed to investigate, but she had to be careful. Madame Beaumont was powerful and the staff were loyal. If anyone knew she was looking for fakes, they might tell her to stop. The next morning, Clara returned to the gallery earlier than usual. She carried a small notebook and a pencil. She wrote down the details she remembered from the painting, the colors, the brush strokes, and the signature. Then she compared it with another famous painting in the house. That painting seemed real, but Clara noticed small differences in the style. She took notes carefully, trying not to disturb anything. As she moved around the gallery, she felt a sense of excitement she had never felt before. This was more than just cleaning. This was a discovery. Clara loved puzzles, and now she had one that could change everything. She imagined herself telling the world that she had found a fake painting in one of the richest houses in the city. She smiled quietly to herself. Her thoughts were interrupted when she noticed something behind a small cabinet near the wall. There was a piece of paper sticking out. Clara bent down and pulled it gently. It was an old ledger filled with handwritten notes. She opened it carefully. The pages listed sales of paintings, including the names of artists and dates. Her eyes widened when she saw one entry that matched the painting she had noticed. It listed a sale to the Beaumont family years ago, but the signature on the ledger was different from the one on the painting. Clara's heart raced. This was proof. Someone had sold a fake painting to the family, or perhaps someone inside the house had replaced the original. She did not understand why, but she knew she had found something important. She carefully put the ledger back and made a mental note to examine it more later. That evening, after her work was done, Clara returned to her small room. She sat by the window and looked out at the estate. The sky was turning pink with the setting sun, and the garden below was quiet. She thought about what she had discovered. She wondered if anyone would believe her. She also wondered if it was dangerous to know so much. Despite the fear, Clara felt a sense of determination. She could not ignore what she had found. She wanted to know the truth no matter what it took. She decided that the next day she would look for more clues, more signs of forgery. She would study every painting in the house carefully. As night fell, Clara fell asleep with her notebook beside her. She dreamed of secret rooms, hidden paintings, and long-forgotten mysteries waiting to be discovered. She felt ready for the challenge, even though she did not know what dangers might come. The next morning, the sun rose over the Beaumont estate, casting golden light across the marble floors. Clara woke up early, full of energy and purpose. Today would be the day she began her real investigation. She would move quietly, carefully, and observe everything. The fake painting had opened a door to a mystery, and Clara was ready to step through it. She took a deep breath, tucked her notebook under her arm, and walked toward the gallery. The adventure had begun, and Clara knew that nothing would be the same again. The morning sunlight filled the Beaumont estate with warmth as Clara moved quietly through the long hallways. She carried her notebook and a small pencil, determined to continue her investigation. She had been thinking all night about the fake painting and the ledger she had discovered. The house seemed peaceful, but Clara knew that beneath the calm surface, secrets waited to be uncovered. She began by examining the paintings in the gallery again. Clara looked closely at each canvas, studying the colors, brushstrokes, and signatures. She compared them to her notes from the previous day. Some paintings were clearly authentic, but a few seemed slightly off. The differences were small, almost invisible to someone who was not paying attention, but Clara could see them. She wrote every detail in her notebook. Each note brought her closer to understanding the truth. As she moved to a portrait of a man in a dark coat, Clara noticed something strange. The frame did not match the age of the painting. The wood looked newer than it should, and the corners were slightly uneven. She ran her fingers gently over the surface. No one had noticed this before. Her heart beat faster. This was another clue. After carefully examining the gallery, Clara remembered the ledger she had found behind the cabinet. She decided it was time to look at it more closely. She waited until the house was quiet and went to the small cabinet. She opened it carefully and pulled out the ledger. The pages were yellowed and smelled faintly of old paper. She turned to the section that listed the paintings she had identified as fake. The ledger recorded the sale of several paintings to the Beaumont family. One entry caught her attention. It was a painting of a landscape, with rolling hills and a bright blue sky. The ledger showed that it had been purchased many years ago from a well-known gallery. But when Clara compared it to the actual painting in the gallery, she noticed subtle differences. The brushstrokes were uneven, and the colors were slightly darker than they should be. Clara wrote everything down in her notebook. Her mind raced with questions. Who had replaced the original painting, and why? Was it a mistake, or was someone trying to hide something? Clara knew she had to find out more, but she also had to be careful. The Beaumont family was wealthy and respected. If they discovered she was investigating their paintings, they might dismiss her or even send her away. Clara decided to look for more evidence in secret. She began exploring the estate with careful steps, checking behind furniture, inside cabinets, and under carpets. Her curiosity grew stronger with each clue she found. In a small, dusty corner, behind a heavy curtain, she discovered a narrow passage hidden behind a wall panel. Her heart pounded with excitement. She had found something no one else knew about. The passage was dark and narrow, but Clara moved forward slowly. She carried a small lantern, and its soft light revealed the stone walls and wooden floor. The passage led her to a hidden room. The door creaked as she opened it, and she stepped inside. Clara gasped. The room was filled with paintings, stacked against the walls and leaning on tables. Some were landscapes, others were portraits, and a few were still lifes. All of them looked unusual. Many were copies, some clearly fake. Clara's mind raced as she examined the hidden paintings. She realized that the fake she had discovered in the gallery was not an isolated case. Someone had collected many forged paintings and kept them hidden. But why? She carefully noted each painting in her notebook, describing the details and differences. The room was dusty and quiet, but it felt alive with secrets. Clara did not know how long she stayed in the hidden room. The evidence was overwhelming, but she also felt a growing sense of danger. She knew she could not confront the Beaumont family alone. She needed help from someone who understood art and could see the differences she had found. She thought of Lucien, a young artist who occasionally visited the estate to deliver paintings and take commissions. He was skilled and honest. If anyone could help her, it would be him. The next day, Clara found Lucien at the estate. He was examining a new portrait he had delivered. She approached him cautiously, unsure how he would react. "Lucien," she said softly, "I found something. A painting in the gallery is not real, and there may be more hidden in the house." Lucien looked at her with surprise. "Are you serious?" he asked. Clara nodded and showed him her notebook with the details she had written down. "I do not know what to do. I cannot tell anyone else. They might not believe me," she said. Lucien's eyes widened as he read the notes. He looked at Clara with admiration. "This is incredible. You have an eye for art that few people have. We must find the truth together." Clara felt a wave of relief. She was no longer alone. Together, they began planning how to investigate further. Lucien suggested they check the hidden room she had discovered. They needed to gather more evidence before confronting anyone. That evening, after the estate was quiet, Clara led Lucien to the passage behind the wall panel. They moved carefully, holding lanterns. The hidden room looked even more mysterious in the dim light. The two of them examined each painting, noting the details that showed they were forgeries. Lucien took sketches in his own notebook, and Clara recorded every observation. While examining a landscape painting, Lucien noticed something unusual. There was a small mark in the corner, almost like a secret symbol. He showed it to Clara. "This is strange. It looks like a mark used by someone to identify a series of paintings," he said. Clara nodded. "I have seen this before in a book about famous forgers. They sometimes left small signs to prove they made the copy. This could be very important." They continued searching the room, finding more paintings with the same mark. Clara realized that the forger had been careful and skilled. Someone had planned this for a long time. The hidden room was like a secret collection, a place to store copies of famous paintings without anyone knowing. As they examined the last painting, Clara felt a mix of fear and excitement. They had gathered enough evidence to understand that the estate held many hidden secrets. But now they had a bigger question: who was responsible for hiding the forgeries, and why? Clara and Lucien knew they could not answer that yet. They had to continue their careful investigation. Before leaving the hidden room, Clara whispered, "We must be very careful. If anyone discovers we have been here, it could be dangerous." Lucien nodded. "We will be careful, but we cannot ignore this. The truth must come out." That night, Clara returned to her room feeling exhausted but determined. She thought about the paintings, the hidden room, and the mysterious marks. She realized that she was not just a maid's daughter anymore. She was part of a secret investigation. and her knowledge of art was the key. She wrote down everything in her notebook again, adding Lucien's sketches and observations. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together. She imagined the moment when the truth would be revealed and hoped that the forger or anyone responsible would be brought to justice. As she lay in bed, Clara felt a mix of fear and excitement. She knew that her life had changed. The fake painting had opened a door to a hidden world, full of mysteries and secrets. She was determined to follow the trail, no matter where it led. The adventure had begun, and Clara knew that she had found a purpose that went beyond cleaning and serving. She was now a seeker of truth, ready to uncover the secrets hidden in the walls of the Beaumont estate. The next morning, the sun rose, again over the estate, casting golden light on the marble floors and shining through the windows of the gallery. Clara felt ready for another day of careful observation and discovery. She knew that with Lucien by her side, they could uncover more of the mystery. The hidden room, the forged paintings, and the secret marks were only the beginning. Clara felt a sense of determination she had never felt before. Today, she thought, they would begin to unravel the truth behind the forgeries, and she was ready for whatever they might find. The morning air in the Beaumont estate was crisp as Clara met Lucien near the gallery. The sunlight poured through the tall windows, illuminating the paintings on the walls. Clara held her notebook tightly, her mind focused on the hidden room and the forgeries they had discovered. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today they would begin connecting the clues they had found and plan their next move. Lucien greeted her with a small smile. "I have been thinking about the hidden room," he said. "There is something strange about the way the paintings are arranged. The marks on the corners are consistent, and I think they are a signature of the same person." Clara nodded. "Yes, I noticed that too. Someone took great care to hide these forgeries, and the marks show it was the same hand. But why? Who would do this in the Beaumont estate?" They walked to the gallery and began to examine the paintings on the walls once more. Clara compared each painting to the sketches in her notebook. Lucien pointed out small details in the brushstrokes that she had not noticed before. Together they could see patterns and similarities that were invisible to others. "Look at this landscape," Lucien said, pointing to a painting of a rolling field with a small house in the distance. "The colors are slightly darker than they should be, and the brush strokes around the trees are uneven." "This is not the original." Clara leaned closer. "I see it. And look at the signature. It is slightly different from the original artist's style. This is another copy." As they continued, Clara felt a thrill of discovery. Each painting they examined gave them more evidence. They wrote notes, sketched details, and marked which paintings were suspect. Clara realized that the hidden room was only part of the story. Some forgeries had already been placed in the gallery, and the original works were missing or replaced. After several hours, they decided to return to the hidden room. They needed to gather more evidence to understand the full extent of the forgeries. Clara led Lucien through the narrow passage, holding the lantern high. The hidden room smelled of old paint and dust. The paintings leaned against the walls, their frames crooked and worn. Lucien examined a portrait of a woman in a red dress. "This is very good work," he said. "The artist knew how to copy the style, but the small mistakes give it away. Look at the eyes. They are too sharp and lack the softness of the original." Clara nodded. "And the paint texture is different. You can see the brushstrokes are heavier than the original artist would have used." They continued checking the paintings one by one. Clara noticed that some had small symbols in the corners, while others had tiny numbers written in pencil on the back. Lucien suggested that these numbers might correspond to a list or a ledger somewhere. Clara remembered the old ledger she had found and realized that it might hold more information than she had seen. After a careful search, they returned to the gallery and found the ledger behind the cabinet. Clara opened it to the first page and began reading aloud. The ledger listed paintings, sales, and dates. Some entries were familiar, but others were new. One entry in particular caught their attention. It listed a painting that had been sold to the Beaumont family decades ago, but there was a note indicating it had been replaced or moved. "This is important," Clara said. "It shows that someone replaced the original painting long ago." The forgeries were not recent. They have been hiding them for years. Lucien looked thoughtful. It also explains why some of the paintings are in the hidden room. They may have been replaced over time, and the original pieces are kept somewhere else or were stolen. Clara felt a chill. The mystery was deeper than she had imagined. Someone had been planning this for a long time, and the Beaumont family may not have known. She realized that revealing the truth would not be simple. They had to be careful, or they could cause a scandal without understanding the full story. They decided to investigate further by looking for more hidden clues in the estate. Clara remembered an old servant who sometimes worked in the gallery. His name was Henri, and he had been with the family for many years. Clara thought he might know something about the paintings in the hidden room. The next day, she approached Henri quietly while he was cleaning. "Henri," she said softly, "I have a question about the gallery. Did you ever notice anything unusual about the paintings?" Henri looked at her carefully. "What do you mean, Clara?" he asked. Clara hesitated. "Some paintings may not be real. Some might be replaced. Do you know anything about this?" Henri's face changed. He looked around as if making sure no one else was listening. Then he whispered, "There are secrets in this house that few know. Some paintings were moved and some were hidden. But it is dangerous to speak of it." Clara nodded. "I understand. But I want to find the truth." "Can you help me?" Henri thought for a moment, then said, "I can tell you what I know, but you must be careful. There is a hidden room in the gallery. I saw it when I was young. Not everyone knows about it. Some of the paintings there are not what they seem." Clara felt a thrill. "I know about the room. Lucien and I have seen it. Can you tell us more?" Henri lowered his voice. "Many years ago, someone took the originals and replaced them with copies. The originals were kept safe, but the reason has never been clear. Only the family matriarch knew the truth, and she told very few people." Clara and Lucien exchanged glances. This was the first real explanation they had heard. Henri continued, "If you want to uncover the full story, you must be very careful. The family is proud, and some may not want the truth revealed." They thanked Henri and left quietly. His words confirmed their suspicions. The hidden room was part of a long-kept secret, and the forgeries had been planned with care. Clara felt more determined than ever to uncover the truth. She also realized that revealing it would require courage and careful planning. Over the next few days, Clara and Lucien worked together. They examined every painting in the gallery and the hidden room, comparing details, marks, and signatures. They created a map of the estate, noting where suspicious paintings were located. They also began to piece together a timeline from the ledger, showing when certain paintings were acquired and replaced. One afternoon, while studying a landscape, Lucien said, "Clara, I think we are getting close. Look at these marks. They match the ones in the hidden room. Someone used the same system for all the forgeries." Clara smiled. "Yes, and if we follow the timeline, we may even figure out who was responsible. The clues are all here waiting for us." As they continued, Clara felt a sense of pride. She had started this investigation as a maid's daughter, but now she was part of something much bigger. Her knowledge of art, her careful observation, and her courage were helping to uncover a secret hidden for decades. That evening, they returned to their rooms, exhausted but excited. Clara wrote down everything in her notebook, reviewing the evidence and planning the next steps. They knew that the final revelation would be difficult, but they were ready. The mystery of the forgeries in the hidden room was slowly unfolding, and Clara and Lucien were at the center of it. Clara looked out of her window at the estate. The garden was quiet, the trees swaying gently in the evening breeze. She felt a sense of purpose she had never felt before. She had discovered a secret world inside the Beaumont estate, and now she had a mission. She would continue to uncover the truth no matter how long it took. Tomorrow, she thought, they would take the next step. They would find more evidence, connect the final clues, and perhaps prepare to confront the family. Clara knew that patience, courage, and careful observation would be their greatest tools. The journey was only beginning, but she felt ready for whatever lay ahead. The morning sun bathed the Beaumont estate in golden light. Clara and Lucien met near the gallery, carrying their notebooks and sketches. Today was the day they had decided to take a bold step. They had collected enough evidence from the hidden room, the ledger, and their careful observations. They knew the truth about the forged paintings was dangerous, but it was time to confront someone who might have answers. Madame Beaumont, the matriarch of the family, was the only person who might know the full story. Clara felt her heart beat faster as she approached Madame Beaumont's study. The large wooden door was polished and heavy, and it reflected the sunlight from the hallway. Lucien stayed close, giving her quiet support. Clara took a deep breath and knocked gently. "Enter," Madame Beaumont's voice called from inside. Clara pushed the door open and stepped into the elegant room. Madame Beaumont sat behind a large desk, her posture straight and commanding. She looked at Clara and Lucien with surprise. "Clara, Lucien, what brings you here?" Madame Beaumont asked, her tone polite but firm. Clara straightened and spoke carefully. "Madame Beaumont, we have discovered something in the gallery. Some paintings are not originals. We also found a hidden room with other paintings that seem to be copies. We need to understand the truth." Madame Beaumont's eyes narrowed. "Copies? Hidden room? Clara, are you sure of this?" Lucien stepped forward and showed sketches and notes from their investigation. "We have studied the paintings and compared them carefully. The brushstrokes, the colors, and the signatures are different from the originals. These are forgeries." Madame Beaumont studied the evidence quietly. For a moment there was silence in the room. Then she leaned back in her chair, her face thoughtful. "It is true," she said finally. "Some of the paintings have been replaced. But there is more to this story than you realize." Clara and Lucien exchanged a glance. They had expected a reaction, but not a confession so soon. Clara's voice was gentle. "Please, Madame Beaumont, we only want to understand. Why were the paintings replaced?" Madame Beaumont sighed. "Many years ago, a valuable painting was stolen from the family. It was a masterpiece, one of the most important works we owned. I could not risk losing it again. The family could not bear the scandal, and the estate's reputation would have been damaged. So the originals were replaced with copies and the stolen painting was hidden safely. Only a few trusted people knew the truth." Clara felt a chill run through her. The story was more complex than she had imagined. "So the forgeries were meant to protect the originals?" she asked. Madame Beaumont nodded. "Yes. The hidden room was created to store the copies and some originals were moved to safe locations. The family's reputation and the history of the paintings had to be protected. But over time, knowledge of this secret was lost to many of the staff." Lucien looked thoughtful. "That explains why the marks and symbols were used. The forger wanted to ensure the copies were recognizable to those who knew the system." Madame Beaumont's expression softened. "Exactly. The symbols allowed trusted people to identify the forgeries. It was a system to protect the art from thieves and dishonest collectors. But now you have discovered it, and that is both brave and dangerous." Clara felt a mixture of pride and worry. She had uncovered the truth, but she realized it could change everything at the estate. She spoke carefully. "Madame Beaumont, we want to help. We can make sure the originals are safe and the copies are understood for what they are. People should know the truth, but carefully, without causing harm." Madame Beaumont studied her for a long moment. "You have courage, Clara, and a sharp mind. Not many would have noticed the differences in the paintings or found the hidden room. You and Lucien may be able to help the family preserve the art properly." Clara felt her heart lift. She had started as a maid's daughter, unnoticed and quiet, and now she had been recognized for her observation and courage. Lucien smiled quietly beside her, proud of their teamwork. Madame Beaumont stood and walked around the desk. She gestured toward a chair. "Sit, let me explain everything." The stolen masterpiece was hidden in a secure location within the estate. Some of the copies were kept here, and some were moved to another safe place. The system worked for decades, but eventually many people forgot. That is why you discovered the hidden room. Clara and Lucien listened carefully. Madame Beaumont continued. "The forger who created the copies was a trusted artist. He understood the importance of the originals and followed instructions to replicate the works accurately. His marks allowed future generations to identify the copies. The intention was never to deceive, but to protect." Clara opened her notebook and added notes to her observations. She felt relief and excitement. Now they had a full understanding of the mystery. The fear she had felt was replaced with determination to preserve the truth. Lucien asked, "Madame Beaumont, can we see the originals? We want to compare them to the copies and make sure everything is accounted for." Madame Beaumont nodded. "Yes, I will show you, but it must be kept secret. Only trusted people may know their location." She led them through the estate to a small, secure room behind the library. The door was heavy, and it had a small lock that required a key. Madame Beaumont unlocked it and gestured inside. The room was filled with sunlight from a high window. On the walls hung paintings that were familiar from their notes, but these were the originals. Clara could see the difference immediately. The brush strokes were delicate, the colors vibrant, and the light in the painting seemed alive. Lucien whispered, "These are beautiful. You can see the soul of the artist in every stroke. Clara felt tears rise in her eyes. She had discovered the fake painting, the hidden room, and now the truth of the originals. Her heart swelled with pride and joy. The mystery had been dangerous and difficult, but they had uncovered the secret and preserved the history of the art. Madame Beaumont spoke softly. I trust you both to keep this knowledge safe. The estate and the family history depend on it. You have shown courage, honesty, and intelligence. You are no longer just observers. You are guardians of the art. Clara felt a warmth in her chest. She had never imagined her life could change in such a way. From a quiet maid's daughter to someone entrusted with preserving the family's treasures, her journey had been unexpected and remarkable. Lucien smiled at her, proud of what they had accomplished together. Over the next few days, Clara and Lucien worked with Madame Beaumont to document the originals and copies. They carefully catalogued each painting, noting the differences, the marks, and the history. The ledger became an important tool, helping them trace the movement of the paintings over the years. Clara felt a sense of purpose she had never known. Her knowledge of art, her curiosity, and her courage had uncovered a long-hidden secret. The estate had been protecting its treasures for decades, and now she was part of that mission. One evening, Clara stood in the gallery and looked at the paintings. The copies were now understood for what they were, and the originals were safe. She felt proud of the work they had done. The secret had been revealed carefully without scandal, and the history preserved. Lucien joined her, holding his notebook. You have done something incredible, Clara. You saw what others could not and followed your curiosity to the truth. The estate owes you more than you know. Clara smiled, feeling a mixture of happiness and relief. She realized that bravery, observation, and honesty had led her to uncover the truth. She had faced fear and uncertainty, but she had succeeded. Madame Beaumont approached them and placed a hand on Clara's shoulder. Remember, Clara, knowledge is powerful. Use it wisely. You have proven yourself to be trustworthy and capable. The estate's treasures are safe thanks to you. Clara felt a sense of completion. The hidden room, the forged paintings, and the stolen masterpiece had all been revealed. The mystery that had started with a single observation had led to a discovery that would preserve history and honor the work of great artists. As the sun set over the Beaumont estate, Clara and Lucien stood in the gallery, surrounded by paintings that held the truth of the past. They had uncovered secrets, protected treasures, and preserved the history of the art. Clara knew that her journey was far from over, but she also knew that she had found her place in the world, a place where courage, curiosity, and knowledge could make a real difference. The morning sun shone softly over the Beaumont estate. Clara woke early, feeling a quiet excitement in her chest. The last few days had been a whirlwind of discovery, and now, with Madame Beaumont's guidance, she and Lucien were ready to help ensure the truth about the paintings was fully revealed and properly preserved. Clara dressed quickly and grabbed her notebook, knowing this day might bring the final pieces of the mystery together. She found Lucien near the gallery, already sketching details of a landscape painting. His pencil moved quickly, capturing the texture and color of the brushstrokes. "Good morning, Clara," he said. "I think today we can complete the documentation of the originals and the copies." Madame Beaumont said she will help us verify each one. Clara smiled. Yes, and once everything is recorded, the estate will finally have a clear record of all the treasures. No secrets will be hidden anymore, and the story of the stolen masterpiece will be known to the family. They walked together to the hidden room. The narrow passage was familiar now, but it still carried a sense of mystery. Clara held the lantern high, casting light on the paintings stacked along the walls. Each painting seemed to whisper stories of the past waiting to be understood. Madame Beaumont met them in the room. "I will show you the originals," she said. "You must be careful. The paintings are priceless and must be handled with care." Clara and Lucien nodded. Madame Beaumont led them through the small secure door behind the library. Inside, the originals glowed softly in the sunlight from a high window. Clara's eyes widened. Each painting was breathtaking. The landscapes were vivid, the portraits full of life, and every brushstroke carried meaning and emotion. She could see the difference between the originals and the copies clearly now. Lucien whispered, "These are extraordinary. You can see the skill of the artist in every detail. The copies were good, but these have a soul." Clara felt a deep satisfaction. Her observation had started it all, and now the truth was before her eyes. She carefully took notes in her notebook, recording details of the paintings, comparing them to the copies in the hidden room, and making sketches where necessary. Lucien did the same. Together, they created a thorough record of both the originals and the forgeries. After hours of careful work, Madame Beaumont spoke. "You have done remarkable work. This record will ensure the estate knows exactly what it holds. The originals are safe and the copies are understood. There is no longer any risk of confusion or loss." Clara felt a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. She had begun as a maid's daughter, unnoticed and quiet, and now she had played a central role in uncovering and preserving the history of the Beaumont estate. Lucien smiled at her, proud of their teamwork and the courage they had shown. Madame Beaumont continued, "There is one more step. The stolen masterpiece must be officially verified and returned to its place among the originals. I will call experts to confirm its authenticity and ensure its protection. You have both earned the right to be part of this process." Clara felt a thrill of excitement. She had discovered the first clue, explored the hidden room, and now she would witness the restoration of a lost masterpiece. The thought that her careful observation had led to this moment made her heart swell. The experts arrived later that day. They examined the paintings carefully, verifying the originals and confirming the copies. When they reached the stolen masterpiece, they were impressed by its beauty and historical importance. Madame Beaumont watched quietly as the experts worked, her face calm but proud. Clara and Lucien observed respectfully, knowing they had played an important part in this process. Once the verification was complete, the stolen masterpiece was returned to the main gallery. It was placed in a prominent position, its colors bright and its details stunning. Visitors and family members who saw it could feel its history and importance. Clara stood quietly nearby, feeling proud that her discovery had led to this moment. Madame Beaumont turned to Clara and Lucien. "You both have proven your courage, intelligence, and honesty. The estate and the art world owe you gratitude. Clara, your observation and determination uncovered a hidden truth that could have been lost forever. Lucien, your skill and careful analysis helped bring clarity to the mystery." Clara felt her cheeks warm. She had never imagined receiving such praise. Lucien smiled modestly, but his eyes shone with pride. They had done something important, and it had been recognized by the family and the experts. Over the next few days, Clara and Lucien worked to finalize the records of the paintings. Every detail was carefully noted. Every copy matched with its original, and the ledger was updated to show the full history. The Beaumont estate now had a clear and accurate record of all its treasures. The mystery had been solved, and the hidden truths were no longer a danger. Clara reflected on everything she had learned. She had discovered the fake painting, found the hidden room, and uncovered the purpose of the forgeries. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and the challenge of speaking up when others might not believe her. Her curiosity and courage had guided her through every step. Lucien spoke one evening as they completed the final notes. "Clara, you changed everything. You saw what others did not and had the courage to act. Without you, the truth might still be hidden." Clara smiled. "I could not have done it without you. Your knowledge and support made all the difference. Together, we uncovered the full story and preserved the art for the future." Madame Beaumont approached them one last time. "I want you both to know that your role here will always be remembered. Clara, your insight and careful observation have shown that anyone, no matter their position, can make a difference. You are now part of the history of this estate." Clara felt a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. Her journey had begun with a simple observation while dusting the gallery. Now she had played a key role in preserving history and protecting priceless works of art. The experience had changed her, giving her confidence, knowledge, and a sense of purpose she had never known before. The estate returned to its calm routine, but Clara and Lucien carried with them the lessons and experiences of the past days. The paintings were safe, the hidden room documented, and the stolen masterpiece restored. Clara felt a quiet joy in knowing that her curiosity and courage had led to a lasting impact. As the sun set over the Beaumont estate, Clara stood in the gallery one last time. She looked at the paintings, the originals, and the copies, and felt a sense of completion. The mystery had been solved, the secrets uncovered, and the treasures preserved. She knew that her life had changed forever. She had discovered that courage, curiosity, and careful observation could reveal truths that might otherwise remain hidden. Lucien joined her, and together they walked through the gallery. The sunlight reflected off the frames and colors, creating a warm glow that filled the room. Clara felt content. She had faced uncertainty and danger, but she had found the truth and helped protect it. The adventure had been challenging, but it had led to a reward beyond measure: knowledge, courage, and the respect of those who mattered. As they left the gallery, Clara thought about the journey that had begun with a single observation. A fake painting had led to hidden rooms, stolen masterpieces, and family secrets. She realized that curiosity and bravery could change the course of events, even in the most unexpected ways. She felt proud of herself and hopeful for the future, knowing that her actions had preserved something important for generations to come. The Beaumont estate was peaceful again, its treasures safe and its history preserved. Clara had uncovered the truth and in doing so, had found her place in the world. She had learned that even a small observation, when paired with courage and determination, could uncover secrets that might otherwise remain hidden forever.